We're back here on the show, everybody. This coming Saturday, the UFC presents a card from Seoul, South Korea. Their first time in the market. It's going to be headlined by a welterweight fight involving Jorge Masvidal and Benson Henderson. If you're in Canada, the main card kicks off on the Fight Network at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Benson Henderson joins us from Seoul, South Korea. And Benson, there's been a lot of changes along the way, but Saturday is happening, and this has to be a career highlight for you, getting to fight in South Korea. Probably not something you envisioned when you came to the UFC, getting to headline a card in South Korea.
I did envision it. I always dreamed about it. It was one of my dreams of mine to be able to help bring the UFC to Korea for the first time ever. I'm lucky enough to not only be able to help bring the UFC here, but lucky enough to be on the card, and lucky enough to be the main event as well. So it's something I always dreamed about, something I always thought about, talked about, and here we are, man. We're a few days away toward another historic moment for the UFC, first time in Korea.
And tell us a bit, now that you've been there a number of days, what the appetite is like, and just a sense of what the scene is like as they await their first UFC card. I mean, is it? Do you get a sense of the demand here for this card, and just getting to see the UFC up close and personal this weekend?
Oh yeah, I think there's a lot of excitement, a ton of excitement. I think the UFC here as a sport, mixed martial arts as a sport, is a lot more widely accepted. Perhaps because of the history, the rich history of traditional martial arts here in Korea. Being the founders of Taekwondo and a lot of other traditional martial arts, they understand what it is to fight. They understand what it is to put yourself out there. So I think it's a lot more widely accepted by a wider range of demographics than people realize. It's not just fans up here in Korea aren't just men between the ages of 15 and 34. The demographic out here, surprisingly, are like the grandmothers.
Wow.
Put all four of their boys into Taekwondo. They understand what it is to have that discipline, to have the self-discipline, the self-drive to do a martial arts. So I think the demographic out here is crazy big. It's not just the core demographic that we have in America.
Ben, when you see things like that and you start thinking about that and talking about that, you're a combat sportsman, you're a professional athlete, you are, and you fight for a living. But when you're kind of in a different environment like that and talking about these things, do you lean more towards being a martial artist than a professional athlete?
To me, they're not mutually exclusive. It's kind of the same, but as weird as it may be, it's definitely not common in our society. It's definitely a little bit odd. It takes a little bit of getting used to, wrapping your head around. But you can be a fighter, you can be a mixed martial artist and be a professional athlete. A lot of us, liken professional athletes to NBA players or golfers even, or tennis players, or some people strangely even consider people who play darts as professional athletes, or if you're a bowler, you're a professional athlete. Or there's a lot of crazy sports in America that are considered professional athletes, which is cool. It's good. I think because it's fighting, and fighting is something that's so personal, so primal in the heart of men. So people have a hard time understanding that yes, you can be a fighter, but at the same time be a professional athlete. Conduct yourself as a professional athlete, treat yourself as a professional athlete, and that's just the thing. Even though you're a martial artist, a fighter, you can still be an act as a professional athlete.
Having a full camp for this fight this weekend and competing at 170 pounds, Benson, what changes did you make now having a full camp where you're coming down to 170? It wasn't just a quick turnaround like the Brandon Thatch fight. Tell us a bit about just your preparation fighting at 170 and how much stress and pressures are kind of off your shoulders getting to fight at a weight that you seem to be much more comfortable at without that arduous weight cut at the end of it.
Well, we didn't have to mix things up too much. We didn't have to change things around or anything like that. We just did what we normally do, but I just did not have to obsess about, cutting my caloric intake by 2/3. I was able to just focus on training, getting better, and not worrying about, what my weight is at and how many milligrams of sodium I took and how much, protein did I take that day, yada, yada, yada. I was able to just focus on training getting better, improving, working on my boxing, working on my wrestling, working on my jiu-jitsu, actually improving, getting better. So it's really amazing. It's really crazy how awesome it is, how good it is to be able just to focus on that, getting better. It really is, I think, it's pretty drastic, you know?
Yeah, to be able to focus on skill development instead of, periodization and all of this kind of ridiculous stuff, it must have given you crazy confidence to fight at 170 against a guy as enormous as Brandon Thatch and work around his power and make him carry your weight and fatigue him and beat him with technique. When you're facing a dangerous and talented guy like Jorge Masvidal, but nowhere near the size advantage that Thatch had, you must feel great going into a 170 fight against a guy that isn't enormous like that.
Yeah, having such a big test my first time at 170 against Brandon Thatch, who, like you always said, is a pretty big man, 6'3". I heard he walked into the cage about 190, 192 or so. So being able to face off against him and really, test yourself against a larger guy and find your way around and be able to really work it out, definitely I would say it was a good cementing of the confidence, a good, being able to prove it, back it up, not just talk about it, but you actually go in there and prove it. Going in there against Thatch and having a good performance, is a good confidence, establisher.
It wasn't all that long ago, Benson, that Diego Sanchez was fighting up at 170 pounds and then at 155. This past weekend, he's fighting at 145 pounds. With the extreme weight cutting that is going on, and you've kind of seen both sides of the coin at this point, is it concerning for you as an overall trend in mixed martial arts what guys are demanding of their bodies, and something as extreme as Diego Sanchez, who, if you didn't see him at the weigh-ins last week, it looked scary to see this guy cutting that amount of weight, and then you're piling so much on in a 24-hour period?
I'm completely cool with it. I have no problem with it. Me as a competitor, I understand what it is to feel the need to get every advantage that you can to get on any sort of scrap, any sort of little itty bitty tiny minuscule bit of advantage that you can. Going down a weight class, then go for it. I understand as a competitor that need, that desire. And it makes sense to me. It's logical. Yes, you want to get better, so in tennis you're going to pay an extra, $500 for a better racket. Well, yeah, duh, makes sense. You're going to pay that money for a better racket. With MMA, for us, you're looking for extra advantage, going down a weight class. Some people think that's an advantage, so they're going to go for it. Do it. Awesome. I'm all for it. I'm a 100% believer in it. Me as the wrestler at heart, wrestling is my first love. My background is American wrestling. Wrestling since I was, I've been wrestling longer in my life than I have not been wrestling. As a wrestler, it's all about getting down the weight, getting down to the lowest, healthiest, safest weight possible, and performing your best and go out there and having success. If you need to go down a weight class to have success, then go ahead and get after it. Do it.
When we spoke to Diego, his trade-off was he felt big and powerful up a weight class, thick and strong, and lower he was seeking reach and range control. As you're moving up now, and against a guy like Brandon Thatch, what was the advantages you gained? You mentioned a focus on skill development instead of weight loss. What other advantages do you find fighting up a weight class and other than not dealing with the weight cut? Is there some advantages that you see?
Oh, for sure. I think there's pros and cons of moving up. There's pros and cons of moving down. For us, for my camp, we thought the pros and cons of moving up. The pros outweighed the cons of moving up a weight class. The big one, the con, for sure, is going to be, not being as strong, having the other guys be a little bit stronger than me. But we thought the pros more than made up for that. The pros being, being a little bit faster, being quicker, being a little more agile, being a little, slightly more athletic than some of the bigger guys, just because they're naturally bigger. Someone, 6'3", 195 pounds. I should be, me at 5'9", 175. I should be a little bit more athletic than them too. A little bit quicker, more agile. The speed advantage. We definitely felt that the pros outweighed the cons in that sense.
Ultimately, the better fighter is going to win regardless. When you fought Frankie Edgar, Frankie was the smaller guy, not doing the weight cut. You were the bigger guy, and you won. And when you fought Brandon Thatch, you took the Frankie Edgar role, and you still won. So is it just how you fight, ultimately, and how you express yourself regardless of the weight class?
For sure. It's on everyone individually. Just because you move down a weight class doesn't mean you're going to be bigger. That's the common misconception is if I move down a weight class, I'll be bigger than everybody, I'll be stronger, and I'll beat them up. Not necessarily true. That's not necessarily the case. If you move up a weight class and you think, just because I move up a weight class, I'll be faster and quicker than everybody, and I'll be able to beat them up. Not necessarily true. Also, it's about your skill set you bring into the octagon. If you move down a weight class, you're not always going to win. The other guys might be better than you, the skill set wise, So it's all about the individual going into the octagon and who's prepared the most. That's what it boils down to. It doesn't. Not that weight class doesn't matter, but a lot more boils down to your skill set. Obviously, if you're 120 pounds going against 230 pounders, your skill set has to way, be beyond his skill set. You have to be really a lot better than him to be able to beat that guy because you're losing so much in the physical aspect of it. But vice versa, if the 230 pound guy going against a 130 pound guy, if his skill set's just that much above the 120 pound guy, the 130 pound guy, then he's going to shine. And plus, you have the physical attributes behind you to do that much better. But it's all about you physically having the skill set, having the skills to back it up, not necessarily just about the class.
Benson, we're very much looking forward to the fight. It's happening this Saturday. Jorge Masvidal, Benson Henderson at 170 pounds. If you're in Canada, the main card airing at 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Fight Network from Seoul, South Korea. Should be an incredible reaction for these two, in particular, one Benson Henderson, who is headlining the show. And Benson, I want to thank you very much for the time. Always great to pick your brain, and all the best going into Saturday.
Hey, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate your time, too. Thank you, guys.